When a young mom has a baby who didn't survive, she goes to the place where they keep the bodies to say goodbye one last time. But while she's there, she finds something amazing and hard to believe. Anelia stood at the morgue's door, feeling scared to go inside and say goodbye to her daughter. She thought if she didn't go in, maybe she could pretend it wasn't real. Her partner, Fabian, put his arm around her gently, making her realize she had to go in. Her daughter looked very small on the table in the dark, cold room. Anelia felt it was all too sterile and sad. Her baby should have been surrounded by love and happiness, not lying alone in a cold place. Anelia and Fabian took a step closer to the table. Anelia's hands were trembling as she slowly pulled back the sheet covering her baby. She wanted to touch her daughter's hand one last time. Her little girl seemed so cold, and the room gave her chills. But as she held her daughter's tiny fingers, something unbelievable happened. When Anelia found out she was pregnant with her fifth child, she and her partner Fabian were delighted. The couple soon learned that they would be having a little girl. Anelia didn't plan on having any more children after this, so she wanted to really enjoy her last pregnancy. Luckily, she had a fairly smooth time carrying the child. She was grateful to have the opportunity to bring another life into the world once again. The couple spent most of the pregnancy thinking of names for their daughter, decorating the nursery, and making sure their other children felt included in the pregnancy journey. They were pleased to see that their other kids were excited to be gaining a baby sister. At 6 months pregnant, Anelia was taking some much-needed time to relax out in the garden. Suddenly, she began to experience sharp pains shooting through her body. She was sure she was just experiencing false labor pains as she had with her other children. Not feeling too concerned, Anelia tried to stay calm and waited for the pain to pass. However, rather than easing, the pain got worse, and Anelia started to get worried. With 3 months of her pregnancy left, she was worried she had gone into labor. Noticing how much pain she was in, Fabian drove Anelia to the hospital. He tried to stay calm, but knew something wasn't right. Doctors wasted no time in hooking up Anelia to various machines, so they could monitor her and the baby. It quickly became apparent that she was, in fact, in labor, and there was no stopping the early arrival of her baby. Anelia was distraught. Had she done something to cause the premature birth? Perhaps she hadn't rested enough, and guilt consumed her throughout the long and painful labor. After 17 hours, Anelia and Fabian's daughter was finally born, but the couple couldn't relax. They expected cries to echo around the delivery room, but instead, a heavy silence hung in the air. Desperate to know what was happening, Anelia began shouting at the nurses to tell her if her baby was okay. Amidst the commotion, she noticed that the doctors and nurses had suddenly stopped rushing around. A nurse turned towards the couple, holding the tiny baby in her arms. As she approached Anelia, she whispered that she was sorry, but their daughter was stillborn. Anelia let out a heartbroken cry. How could she deal with this? She held her tiny daughter against her as Fabian embraced them both, tears falling down his face. The couple was given no time with their daughter, and doctors soon took her away to the morgue, telling the couple they could come and see her later. Before she was taken, they decided to name her Lucia. The couple was left feeling empty and shocked at the lack of sympathy from the doctors. It all felt really rushed and clinical. Hours passed by before Anelia and Fabian were allowed to see their daughter again, with the pain of their loss etched on their faces. They made their way to the morgue. When the doors opened and Anelia refused to enter, Fabian gently wrapped his arm around her and squeezed. He was struggling with the loss of his daughter too, but wanted to stay strong for his wife. Seemingly drawing some strength from him, Anelia took a step into the morgue and went over to her daughter. She reached out for the cover with a shaking hand and gently pulled it back, wishing to hold her daughter's hand one last time. The little girl looked like she was sleeping, but she was also covered in what looked like frost. Anelia shivered at the thought. Fabian gently stroked his daughter's head as Anelia took hold of her tiny fingers. Just then, something unbelievable happened. Lucia moved. Anelia thought that in her grief-stricken state, she had imagined it. But when it happened the second time, Fabian also noticed. When their daughter began making small whimpering sounds, the doctor who had accompanied them to the morgue rushed over. Lucia had come back from the dead. Anelia picked up her daughter and held her close while Fabian praised God for the miracle. The couple was rushed back to the hospital so Lucia could be checked over. Nothing seemed to matter to the couple now. Hours ago, they were told their daughter had died and now she was alive. The unbelievable had happened. Almost instantly, the couple knew they wanted to change their daughter's name. They decided Luz, which means miracle light, was a much better fit now that their daughter was a living miracle. Little Luz was kept in the hospital for the next few weeks, where she could be monitored, but she seemed to be doing well. The doctors who had been present at birth insisted that the little girl had no vital signs when she was born. The only explanation that doctors had was that the colder temperatures in the morgue had somehow altered Luz's metabolism and helped her survive. This oversight was too big to ignore, and the original medical team was suspended while new doctors were put in charge of the miracle baby's care. Luz initially seemed to be doing well, but doctors worried about the fact that she had been born with no vital signs. The little girl also didn't seem as responsive as she should be, and more tests were carried out to try and get some answers. Doctors discovered that Luz had microcephaly, a condition that she would need stem cell treatment for if she had any hope of surviving. The news crushed the couple, but they knew they needed to stay strong to help their daughter. The stem cell treatment would have to take place in China, so the couple set about fundraising for little Luz. It wasn't as straightforward as they'd hoped, though, and baby Luz suffered from a high number of health complications and developmental issues that stretched beyond the original diagnosis. Despite the setbacks, the couple continued to fundraise, hopeful that the stem cell treatment would help. They never took for granted the kindness of strangers who were willing to help them. Their 4 other children also showed a fighting spirit as they took care of their little sister without any complaints. Just when Fabian had started to hope that things might work out, tragedy struck again. The couple was getting ready to go to the hospital with Luz for a checkup when she went into cardiac arrest. Doctors and nurses did all they could to help, but Luz remained in critical condition. Suddenly, the family was faced with the idea that they might lose their daughter again. The last 2 years had been tough, from thinking their daughter had been stillborn to the miracle that brought her back. The couple prayed that God would grant them one more miracle and keep their daughter alive. As soon as the doctor walked into the waiting room, the couple could tell that the news wasn't going to be good. The doctor's sympathetic expression gave it away. The doctor explained that Luz had passed away, which left Analia in disbelief. She rushed out of the room to see her daughter. Analia couldn't accept that they had lost their daughter again, even though doctors had been wrong in the past. Analia burst into her daughter's hospital room, picked her up, and begged her to wake up. This time, there would be no miracle. The couple found comfort in knowing that their daughter was now at peace, but they knew their family would never be the same. Little Luz had truly lived up to her name. She had been a source of hope and joy for the family, and now that light had sadly gone out. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments section. Thank you.